Okay. Chesquag specia or chesenia coque. Sisius qualtiutamen Louis Quest. Chinelti Lenka. O Nauchinabl Essel Sequel in Yesta Bushadripmos. Louis Quisquasa. Cheselish Luteliela. O Nauchi Istco Lu Kanuawishan no Kan Kulaman. Lamlam شغل باتكولجي yes بسبمالسي شغل باتكولجي تكولجي هناك جنس بسبمالسي شغل يا كمكمي شغل يا topic so hello everyone, my name is Sisi Pete. Thank you for coming or logging on, and I did say good morning or good afternoon. I'm not sure which one it is that you're watching, but so today we will be talking about building resiliency and positive protective factors in Indigenous students. I'm excited to talk about this topic because it is something I feel like I have a lot of personal experience with, and something that that I identified that helped me as an adolescent, and then still going through life, helping me through challenges and adversities. So, excuse me. I will start today with a song. This song, I will be singing the peace song, and this song I ask that you do not record, and then also, if you do know it, please sing along with me. So this song was strictly used back in the day. We would use this when we would meet up with bands, and sometimes this process would take hours because when we would meet up, every person of the tribe would shake hands with each other and give each other, a message of our hopes or a greeting to each other, and everyone would do that. So you see why that would take a really long time. But so I'll be singing that with you today, and I think it's important to bring back the use of our songs and the importance of it, their meaning and what they're used for, and to use them authentically. So that's why I'll be singing that song specifically, because we are coming together, even though I don't know who's all here and I can't really see you, but it's modern, right? And I'm using it in the modern day for what it's specifically used for. So I'll quit blaring. Okay, so like I said, if you know this song, please sing along with me. I would really appreciate it. I hi 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 Dan школын сөтін хөлиэл хва, хөл асия, окасия, кэц көлчи, хөлия комкоми, иэсэн тэлсам, нам тестам, ока комкоми, на сухмимай, mint quintessel spoosts. Dan. Okay, then. Okay, so positive protective factors. Um, if you sing with me, lemons, cool points. Characteristics. Positive protective factors are characteristics associated with a lower likelihood of negative outcomes or that reduce a risk factor's impact. Potential factors may be seen as positive countering events. Some risks and protective factors are fixed. They don't change over time. So, next slide. I kind of already touched on this a little bit, on a little bit about myself. That's me and my kids. That's my favorite picture. That's just us digging chemists, and some of these images are examples of my personal positive protective factors. So, like as a kid going to Nkusum, like getting that constant reminder of who I was and where I came from and what I was what who I needed to serve and in that sense really helped me and still does help me stay, on track and keep in a positive mindset to this day. So again, my kids over here, but practicing what gave me strength and showing them and passing that on to them right over here. And then over here next to our medicine tree is also one of my favorite pictures. It's a place that's special to our people. And then down here, my family. And then over there in the corner, Patalik and Supi, I got a lot of my teachings from them, and they really helped solidify within myself who I was and what I should stand for and fight for as a Salish girl and woman now. And then down there, me and my stink sisters with our Pete sister photo. I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. So my projects. So I did just talk about that with me and my sisters. My projects for our new platform. I'm sure some of you have heard our song "Be the Change," and that's our hashtag. With that platform, my goal is to continue to support or to continue to promote language and modernizing, or not necessarily modernizing, but making our language relevant again and normalizing, I guess is the correct term I'm looking for. Excuse me. And so modernizing our language and then also it was also that video is a part of the COVID awareness campaign. And so it was also bringing awareness to COVID. And I really enjoyed doing that project in particular because not only was I promoting being safe, but making it known our values as Skadlik people, as Salish people, that we care for one another. We care for one another. And we're serious when we have to be and we take each other's health seriously. But also a part of this painting over here, part of what I'm also trying to promote and, make relevant again is our style as Salish people. How we women dressed, so that our young people have more to rely on than just ribbon skirts. They can reference these images or reference these paintings or these videos and see, oh, this is how we as Salish people dress, and they can have that form of identity, and that knowledge of, oh, this is how my people dress, and so I'm going to dress that way. And, in a sense, knowledge is power, and it gives them that sense of self and identity that, and then they have something, that they know that is unique to them that they can pass to their friends or to their kids, But also, again, with the masks, they're just, I love the masks, and I really did take advantage of that opportunity to put Salish all over something and be able to give those out for free, So again, with my project, I did work for Head Start as a Salish language teacher at Esquadrome New Wellston, and I will be going back once it is safe again. So right now I'm doing my own education pod. It's called Safely Salish Distance Learning, and I'm really excited about it. I will be teaching my kids and one of my peers, Aspen Smith's kids, and it's going well so far. We're we're figuring it out. We're figuring our schedule out and how I'm really excited to be able to have this group of kids in particular, because her and I raise our kids similar regarding culture and language. And so I'm excited to be able to influence them in this way with not only language but culture and our values, and to hopefully give them some positive protective factors, throughout their life, so they have something to fall back on, something to reference, as they get older, like I did. I'm going to Nkusum. And that's just one of my favorite pictures down there of my son on my art wall, because those are all indigenous artists. And I like to, I try to bring out, the positives in us indigenous people and show my kids that, there's so many of us that are doing well, and to just highlight those people in their lives so that, they have that sense of community and self in their own indigenous world. But anyway, next slide. So I'm gonna play this video for you. It just goes over positive protective factors, and then we will re-go over and talk about this in an indigenous lens, in a native perspective, and how that translates to native students. So let me just exit here. 1 second, bear with me. My recording.
So one of the questions that I get asked pretty regularly, especially when I was younger, was, how did you turn out okay? You had sort of a difficult upbringing, child impacted by substance use disorders. When I get asked this question, very simply the answer is, it's science. This is not a miracle. It is not magic. It was science and counterbalancing all of the risk factors that I came into life with protective factors. So if you think of it as a seesaw, I had a lot of risk factors on this side of it coming into this world, and for about the first 10 years. But then there were things that happened, interventions, and people that cared about me that counterbalanced that seesaw to put protective factors on the other side. So it not only leveled out, but it went in the opposite direction. And I think it's really important for us to remember that no child is unsavable, right? Regardless of the risks and the home life and the difficulties that our children are faced with because of addiction, because of substance use disorder, that we have the science and the tools to intervene and help to improve their outcomes. When we talk about why some people develop a substance use disorder and some people don't, I talk about the triangle, sort of the three main factors. And at the tip of the spear is genetics. We have about 50% of the individuals today that have a substance use disorder have a genetic predisposition, right? We pass this down to our loved ones, and you can't control that. But what you can do is know that you have a genetic load, that you have risk factors because of your genetic predisposition, like I do. So because of that, and knowing that I have 4 generations of addiction before me, I know that I have higher genetic risks than, let's say, my next door neighbor or my best friend.
Oh no. I don't know what's going on. Okay, so a little bit about what she's talking about.
So I make choices that counterbalance that. So that's on the genetic side. And then on the other side of the triangle, you have environmental factors. It's about the community that you come from, the environment that you live in, things like poverty level, crime level, availability of substances in that community. And we know that there are interventions that can impact that, the norms that we create in communities. And then you have the individual side, right? That's things that are unique to me and unique to my family and my household. Parental monitoring, really clear expectations that are set forward, positive adult relationships, all these protective factors on the individual side that also have correlating risk factors. factors, but how we address those, particularly for all the kids that are impacted by substance use disorder, is critically important. So I come back to that teeter-totter. I came in to this world with probably every risk factor that you can account for, both on the genetic side, the tip of the spear, the environment I lived in, and my individual factors. But I rebalanced that by the interventions, things like delaying the onset. I did not drink till I turned 21, and even till today at 41, I am very careful about alcohol consumption, intermittency, and being careful about my own use. Clear relationships. I had not only my grandparents and aunts and uncles that engage as caring adults in my life, but was given a mentor through our county behavioral health services when I was just a kid that helped with another caring adult. Mental health care. I was court mandated to see a psychologist when I was 8 and continued that care to make sure that I had the mental health treatment that was necessary to deal with the trauma, the adverse childhood events, and those risk factors that needed to be addressed. We even know how to prevent this illness for those that have the most risk factors for developing this disease. And we just need to make sure that we're deploying them to every community.
Okay. So risk factors. She just talked about risk factors. So some of the risk factors we will go over again. Poor health, which I was shocked to learn when I started looking into this. I was shocked that poor health could be a risk factor. You know, I'm like, dang, I'm giving myself a risk factor being in quarantine. And then separation from family, which we know a lot of our Indigenous families suffer with. A lot of our Indigenous students suffer with at a super early age, which is really sad. Abuse, trauma, family history of addiction, which we know that runs deep. So those may seem like a lot, and like she said, which I love, she said, no child is unsavable. No child is unimpressionable. So it's never too late for any one child or adult, young adult, teenager. It's never too late. So positive protective factors, my favorite part. Okay, my favorite part. Positive protective factors. Good health. Need to get on that. Supportive family. Secure attachment. So that could be to your teacher, to your grandma, to your aunt. Just a secure attachment with an adult is really important. Strong sense of self. And I touched on that a little bit when I talked about my project and myself. You know, that strong sense of who you are. Consistency. And we hear this a lot with early child development, you know, having that consistency, the routine, you know, of every day and what's going to happen, you know, having something predictable. And then a sense of belonging. These two are my favorite that I would like to hit on, the sense of belonging and social connectedness. In schools, I feel like as educators, it is our responsibility to, and then especially if we're teaching, when we are teaching on the reservation, it's our responsibility to make these, to make Indigenous people relevant in kids' school, so that our students are feeling that social connectedness, they're feeling represented in their schools. You know, it means a lot more than you think it does. And that sense of belonging, it gives them a sense of belonging in their school. For personally, I guess, as when I was in high school, that is important, and to feel like you're represented on your reservation, especially this reservation in particular. I don't know how many people have visited other reservations, or how many of you come from other reservations, but ours is very unique, and a lot of our Indigenous students suffer in different ways than other kids on reservations because of that disconnect from community and the sense of belonging. Like, we struggle with a sense of belonging on our own reservation, and I mean, a lot of tribal members on other reservations don't don't battle that, but we Salish, Kootenai, and Pend d'Oreille people do, and I think that is something to really think about and be considerate of when you're teaching these students. Next side, building resiliency. So, resilience, the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, toughness. So, one thing that I hear people say a lot is kids are resilient. I attended an ACEs training a couple years ago, and the presenter just totally debunked that. He kind of just slapped you in the face with it, like kids are not resilient, like that is a joke. And that was a real shock to me, and it was really hard for me to swallow. But resiliency is learned. Resiliency is built. Resiliency is a skill built, not something that a child is just born with. And so some of the qualities of resilience is positive adaptation. And that's something that I notice within kids in particular. So when, the next one I believe is they see difficulty as an opportunity. So, there are some kids in particular, they see when they have a challenge, they see it as an opportunity to, learn something, to find a solution. Where as some kids who don't have that resilience, who are overwhelmed with risk factors, they are defeated immediately, or, they become angry with themselves because they're not confident with themselves. They're not confident in their ability to overcome this. And that is when a positive protective factor like a secure relationship with an adult comes in handy, because when children have that, they believe in themselves to be able to navigate through life because they have somebody in their corner, that they can look to and they can rely on when they aren't sure of themselves. Anyway, next, see positives and adversity. Those are some of the qualities of resilience that I thought were important to point out. So indigenous positive protective factors, these are just some of them that I could think of that might be obtainable in school. So a sense of social connectedness that we talked about a second ago. So like representing their people in the school. So like hanging up pictures of like old indigenous people, just hanging up older pictures of our people, the real stoic ones, there's a lot of history to be had there, and there's a lot of people are interested in those pictures, and it would be nice to see those in school so kids, students can really see, that, oh, hey, those are my people, and though, like, that's where I come from. Because for indigenous people, that's important to know where you come from. We're a tribal people, and that is a different those type of people need different things. They need to know where they come from and who they represent. So that comes along with the sense of belonging, that, oh, my people are represented here, I'm represented here, I belong here. We talked about the diversity on the reservation can be hard for indigenous people. I know for me sometimes it was, understanding where I fit and where I belong, because there is so much diversity on our reservation. And when I visited the Crow reservation a couple times with my boyfriend, like, I was just in awe of their sense of community, how free they were to practice their culture at like basketball games. Like, I just wanted to cry. I was so envious, of their sense of connectedness to each other, and just that similarity they all had. They were so strong in their culture and their beliefs, that I realized that was why. There is no battle. There is no fighting for who belongs where or anything like that. Anyway, so language is something easy to implement in a school, I think, because there are a ton of tools out there for you to use. There's the dictionary. You could contact the culture committee and get CDs and books and Kusum, and I'm sure you could get an alphabet from somewhere. In the mornings before class is getting started, it'd be easy to play a CD before class. At least it's something. And And tribal lifeways, that one's kind of broad and that one may be kind of difficult. But what I think of that is like, when it comes to a certain time of year, you study something specific. Each season you study something specific to indigenous people, to Salish people or Kootenai people or Pend Oreille people. And you make that your study and you learn that together, and you might really have to rely on your students for that, but then you're also giving them that knowledge and that power, and if they don't know, then you all figure it out together, and that really helps build that relationship with you and them, and then potentially giving them that positive protective factor that if nobody else is going to teach it to them, because there's so much trauma and things that go along with learning our indigenous ways, that if nobody else is going to do it, you will, and so that's part of that. But singing and dancing, that's part of it. For me, singing is a protective factor. It's something I avert to immediately when I'm too stressed. It's something that, I do naturally. It's something that I am drawn to, and that gives me strength. And dancing, like for my sister, I know that's a positive protective factor for her. And during this quarantine, and we can't go to POWs and dance, like she's suffering with that, and as am I, because we can't sing and we can't dance, and that's something that's important to us as natives. Beading, because it's a way to express yourself. But again, I talked about that up there. The having the supportive adult, and that comes from implementing all these things, however you decide to go about that, and however deep you decide to go in that. But I want to show you this video of this immersion school that I really admire, and someday hope to have something similar way in the future. Not right now. I'm not capable. I don't have the tools yet to be able to accomplish this. But this school, what they do is amazing for their students, and I can only imagine, what kind of people they're creating. And so people they're creating, like they're just creating people. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, let's go to this event. Here we go. Okay.
Elders who spoke Ojibwe fluently, who were raised with Ojibwe as a first language, were vastly diminishing. So we knew we had to do something quick, and so that's why we started Wadukudari. Wadukudari, it's a place where our language lives, where the Ojibwe language lives. Bebakan, inabikizajig, the abaji egg wagino gashi egg, dashke dash beijing. Language, I think with any cultural practice, it has a specific vocabulary and teachings that are associated with each activity in.
Oh no! I was really enjoying that. Okay, 1 second. I like that passage in the beginning about a few resilient students or kids held on to their ways. That really, I really enjoyed that.
So, for instance, all the words about boiling sap, the way that it boils, have specific terms that allow you to develop a deep comprehension of the activity and why you do it and how you do it.
Oma, Wayne Dijon Zinzibar Kodabu Mitigon, we could be doing Akina Zinzibar Kodabu, Aking da Atemagad.
I always say it's an educational experience for students, but it's a community movement. We're facing some really unique challenges right now.
We have a lot of statistics that are against us, that we have a lot of issues with abuse and suicide that show us as not being the most healthy of communities. And I always think of it not just in terms of our culture surviving, but really our people surviving.
I didn't learn to speak Ojibwe as a child, but when I started studying it as an adult in college, I quickly realized how much knowledge and capacity there is in a language to know who you are, where you come from, how to see the world in that unique way. It's certainly academically rigorous. It's not just a culture program, it's not just a language program. Ultimately, it's prepping them and building an intellectual framework that they'll be able to apply to and adapt to no matter where they are in the world. That will help them. And I think they're prepared with knowledge and ability that they feel proud of, that they feel connected to their ancestry in a deeper way. They have a much broader and deeper understanding of Ojibwe perspective in relation to the local community, the local environment, and the world.
Okay. So that school was amazing. I really enjoy that video and those people. I got to meet and hear that lady speak at the language summit a couple years in a row, and I love what they're doing together for their students and their people. It's beautiful. So educators' role in Indigenous identity, because again, as educators, as teachers on a reservation, it is our duty and our responsibility, to help Indigenous students and to give them what they need. Environmental. So like the first video we watched, where she talked about the spear. She talked about the tip of that spear was genetics, and we can't control biological ecology. Like, we can't control what is in these kids' genetics, but what we can control is their environmental factors. We can control their daily lives, and we do have influences in that sense, and that is really powerful. And so part of that is study focus, is we can decide how we can decide how we come about our lessons and how we can customize that to our Indigenous students, because it is important for everyone else who lives on the reservation, other kids who are here, to be aware and knowledgeable of the Indigenous people that live here, and our history and our ways and our customs. So Study focus, I think, is the best way to manipulate that and make that relevant in your classroom. And then to also, it depends on how you go about the studying, to see what you find and to challenge their thinking, and when you're also studying, to be sure you're going about it in a respectful way. So probably making sure you have like a guide, because that can go wrong very quickly. And then leadership building. I don't mean to show you so many videos, but I just wish we could talk in person, because it would be so much more meaningful for me. But leadership building, I feel like that is so important. And that is something I feel like they were doing in that video, really giving them that sense of self, and being able to have that confidence within themselves. And so this next video I want to show you is mindful youth and leadership. So this school did something beautiful with their program and their students who have a ton of risk factors, who may come from these places of trauma, and their home lives or individual lives may be full of turmoil, but their environmental factor, they are doing everything they possibly can to give these students the best jump forward that they can. And I really admire this school for that, and I admire their curriculum and what they're doing. So let me see. Okay, so here it is, and I will get links to these somewhere in the slide, probably at the end. Yeah, so that you can watch these and they won't be buffering halfway through. So here is Mindful Youth Leadership Transforming School, and they call these, it's really cute, they call them
It's kind of like one big family.
I guess I mostly like the diversity of the school. It's not like all the stereotypes. Everyone's all mixed together. It feels like a family, I guess.
It's really nice to know that everybody's there to support you, and all the teachers and admin and all them, especially like GMP. Whenever you need something, you can just come here. They help you.
I don't know if any other school has quite a vast array of healing opportunities like that are offered here.
What we found is that the young people who arrive at school who are trauma impacted, that the school building traditionally is not set up to work effectively with young people who arrive in the building with those kinds of challenges. And so typically their behaviors are maladaptive in this setting. They may be very adaptive in other settings. The school building, the school community as a whole, over generations, has not been curious about that dynamic, but they've been very judgmental. The school building has said when young people arrive, angry when young people arrive in a lot of ways that don't support classroom learning. The response has been, you don't belong here. And the response has been to exclude those young people from this experience. That is the school to prison pipeline, because we know where those young people end up. A number of us in the school community have been in conversation over a period of time about the best way to strengthen our restorative practice here at school, and we were looking for meaningful ways to include students in that conversation and in that work. And so that was the impetus for the Culture Keepers.
You are a special group of kids that we spotted that is a leader to the school.
Everybody has people to hang out with, so it's like people from almost every group.
We practice peer mediation. We do mindfulness practice.
We mostly help teachers with their students so they won't have to get referral and go out of class, so they can keep on learning in their class.
We'll try our best to help the school be less complicated for the administrators and more comfortable for the students.
Specifically, we wanted to bring them in to the disciplinary process, because that seemed like a locus for a lot of suffering here at school.
Young folks get into a fight, what happens is I get suspended, or the kid gets suspended. We both get sent home for a few days to cool off. We come back to the school. Nothing was ever addressed. He said something to me in the hallway. We blow up into another fight. I think our young folks, they're fed up with a lot of, in a sense, like an old school way of how things are being dealt with.
We knew that we wanted to include Naroga and dynamic mindfulness in that process because we knew that to intervene in moments that were charged, that were maybe full of anger or other kinds of impulsive, reactive energy, that it would be helpful to give young people and also the adults in the process skills and tools to work with those kinds of emotions in ways that were not reactive, in ways that created space for other possibilities to arise. Dynamic mindfulness is a tool to allow people in those moments to come into that space really ready to do that work.
So bringing in some restorative trauma-informed practices, some breathing, some meditation, just to help flip the script. And they're doing it among their peers, and peers are buying into it, so they're just like, let's keep going.
Say somebody's getting kicked out of class, and so before they would get a referral, they would send us to, talk to the kid, try to do some like breathing work or exercises, and just try to calm the situation down to where it doesn't have to go to admin and they don't get referrals and stuff.
They bring a middleman into conflict mediation because sometimes when you're talking to an adult, it can feel like maybe they don't understand, and they bring in sort of a person around your age that can maybe relate with you a little bit more. And I think for a lot of people that seems a little less scary or, a little less intimidating.
We do meditation, so I get to calm them down, and then we'll start talking about a situation that happened. I can give my advice on how to avoid the situation again, or how to fix it without being physical or really loud and arguing with people. So just calm down, think about your consequences before you take action.
It means a lot to me because I used to be one of those students that had to get a referral. So knowing that I can help them chill and not get a referral so they can go back and learn what they have to, it feels good.
The work of mindfulness, the James Morehouse Project more generally, allows us to be in closer relationship with students who are up against these challenges in ways that invite them in ways that include them in the work that we're doing, in ways that give them meaningful skills and tools to work with the challenges in their lives.
Students really are hungry for tools to help manage themselves.
The culture keepers, that's a good thing they do because they tell us just step away from the problem and blow in and out.
I know a lot of students at Osarito, they have a lot going on, stressing off of family at school or something outside of school.
I'm not getting as mad no more because I can calm myself now. Using the mindful thing, I use my neck. We do it every morning, so it helped me a lot to, keep the stress off of me so I can move on.
I look at situations differently now. Before we do this, I'd see people having a problem or something, or people arguing, and I just go whatever. But if I see that I can help the situation, and then I'll kill the situation, calm people down.
It touches my heart because I really put my heart into being a culture keeper, and whatever help I can do in the school as being a leader or anything, I put myself to it.
It's the skills, it's the resource and capacity, and also underneath that it's the relationships that they build with caring adults and with supportive peers that allow them to feel like they belong here in the school community, like the school community is responsive to their needs, and that the school community supports them in their effort to live lives that are really more closely aligned to their own values and commitments.
Okay, so again, I really enjoy what that school. Oh my god, I'm messing up. Oh my gosh. Hold on. What is going on here? Okay, so building resiliency. I enjoyed that. I really admire what they're doing with their kids and how they're giving them these tools for resiliency and really setting that up for them. So some tools we can build for our kids is like a basic building resiliency is introducing expressive writing for 20 minutes. That's kind of what I do with some of my kids now is, we do some expressive writing. Even if they're just learning how to write, they're writing a short story that they would like to, even my first graders. My son just writes about his dinosaurs eating pie, but you know what? It's expressive. It's what he wants to write about. And then also providing opportunities for self-discovery. And that's a part of that, giving that strong sense of self. So I hope that as educators, we make it easy to be Indigenous in the classroom in the best ways that we know how. We study, things about Indigenous people, about our local Indigenous people. We take, we take advantage of all the tools and opportunities around us in our community that all of our locals have worked hard to put out there for us. And also that we, make Indigenous people relevant in the classroom and in schools again for these kids. Because personally, for myself, a lot of my protective factors were my ways as a Salish person, and they still are. Those are my protective factors personally, and I would like to think it would be the same for a lot of Indigenous kids out there. Having that support with at least one adult, and then knowing who they are and where they come from, and that they have a place to call home and that they can come home to, which is the reservation, which is their school, which is their home. So okay, so that is all the videoage I have for you today, and I really wish that I could have done this presentation in person, so we could have had some dialogue about this and what you think it means and what it means to you and how that looks in your classroom or in your school. For me personally, learning about positive protective factors was eye-opening. It really made me realize that it doesn't take much sometimes to really impact somebody, to give them something, that little bit of something to hold on to, that's going to give them pride within themselves and within their people and where they come from. Because that's really what I push for. I want everybody to feel as proud as I feel to be Salish, to know who I am and where I come from, who I represent, and why I want to work hard and revitalize my language. And some of these pictures here are, and I couldn't fit all of them, but some of these pictures are super meaningful to me. My nieces and nephew in the corner wearing our shirts, my sisters and I shirts, which means protect each other's life. And that to me is so meaningful. Other than just COVID, it's protect each other's life. It can mean a whole lot of things, and you can continue to wear it and put meaning to it after the pandemic is over, which it will be, and I'm so excited for that. And down there in the corner, I was so happy to see this young man wearing his mask, because that age was our target. Those kids who are in that adolescent age and trying to figure things out. Like I want to target those kids and give them the gift of knowing and language and give them that positive protective factor, because for me that served me so well, and it's serving our people well, essentially. And then in the center is one of my past students, and he was my baby. He was one of my students at Inkusum when I taught there, and his mom sent me this photo of him wearing the mask, and it just melted my heart. It just solidified, because everyone gets weak and wonders, why am I doing this? This is so hard. But it solidified a lot of things when I was having a weak moment that, I am still, even though I'm not his teacher, I am still being that language influenced for him today. Even though I don't get to see him every day and I'm not his teacher and I don't influence him directly, I am still being that for him. I'm still being that support by producing these things and working hard, and I hope this serves as a protective factor for him, knowing that he has his language and me in his corner to be there for him and help him navigate through life. So yes, I really hope that you've learned something about positive protective factors and how easy it can be to implement them. It can be tricky, but ultimately it can be the smallest thing, whether it's, playing, a video of a song from back in the day, even our song that we created, the songs that were made during the COVID awareness campaign by Shadow and Artie and Vinny, those were really powerful songs. And I play them in my car for my kids because I love the message in those songs. I love the message that they give to our people, and it's obvious the way it impacted everyone, and the response to it solidified so much for me that our people need something to hold on to. They need that, and they especially want it in their modern day. It's needed. It's something that it's going to serve everybody well, and the proof is there. So again, I'm really thankful to have done this and spent some time with you. I hope this made a little bit of sense. And again, I hope I can do this again when I'm able to talk and see you all, because this was awkward talking to the camera. Anyway. Anyway, I hope you have a good day, and look forward to seeing you out there. Mask up.